As you might expect, a game like Mario Kart or Mario Party is best played with your friends, assuming, they exist. Despite that though, Mario spin-offs usually at least have something in the vein of a single-player mode, Mario Kart DS being the most famous example of that. This game had a pretty memorable mission mode and is considered to be a highlight of that game to this day. As it pertains to Mario Party though, each release usually would have some sort of mini play-by-yourself story mode. How do I say this? These modes were sort of like the teachers that would talk to you during lunch period if you had no friends. They're very clearly only here for people who really had no one to play it with.
So Nintendo said, possibly in a drunken rage, let's make an entire game of that.
Mario Party Advance. It's Mario Party without the party. I don't even know what to describe this game as. I guess it's kind of like a board game RPG. Yeah, I'm not making this sound very fun, am I? Mario Party Advance was released on, you guessed it, the Game Boy Advance. In 2005, the DS was out. Seriously, who was the target audience for this? I can't find much development history about this game. To be fair, it wasn't just Nintendo who made this. It was developed in part by none other than Hudson Soft, who typically were known for making Mario Party games, and some of the best ones, no less.
And some of the worst ones, if we count whatever this is.
This is notoriously a pretty hated game, and is what I believe is the lowest ranked Mario game on Metacritic, a badge of honor. I'm not even joking, this game has a stunning critic score of 54. For instance, some of the worst Mario sports games are usually only considered average and at least float by in the 7 to 10 canal. Like, if you brought Mario Tennis Aces to your girlfriend's house, she probably wouldn't immediately call the police. So what did they do to make this one of, if not, the worst Mario games? As it turns out, a lot.
I like to usually talk about my experience with a game before I review it and what it was like growing up. And this is kind of a weird one for me because I have one vague memory of playing this game as a kid, but I don't remember owning it. I think me and my friend jailbroke our iPhones or something like that. Don't call the police on me. I think I played this game for 5 minutes, didn't understand it, and turned it off. And I think that's a pretty good summary of what Mario Party Advance is like.
Booting up the game, we have sort of a passport system. I'm not really sure what the point of this is, to be completely honest with you. I don't really trust this star. I think he's selling your data on the internet or something. And that's why you need a NordVPN. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any sponsors. Hashtag not sponsored. You even have a meme maker sort of thing. Ah yes, I'm sure the kids playing this game already have a receding hairline that bad. Nintendo really knows their audience, don't they?
What's your favorite hobby?
Felonies.
Enter a comment. Oh, I have a comment, all right.
Okay, after all that trash, it's finally time to start up the game. But after that, do you really even want to play this? Welcome to Party World, hosted by a generic Toad. That's one issue I have with this game so far. If you look at basically every Mario Party, at least on the GameCube, you had some pretty fun characters. Whether that be the stars from Paper Mario that appeared in Mario Party 5, or Toadsworth hosting Mario Party 7. Hell, even Mario Party 4, despite having generic goons, made them fun looking. But here, all we have is a boring Toad, a boring star. It's just painfully devoid of Mario energy. So, Bowser fucking kills Toad, and we have to recover his blue boxes. Apparently, Toads don't have blood, at least. Approximately now is when you realize this game is going to be a single-player game. There's actually barely any multiplayer integration here, even with the linked cables. At least we have Shroom Dice Guy. No, this doesn't count as a unique character. It's just weird. Alright, here's another thing that pisses me off. Look at this lackluster character selection. Only 4 characters is really embarrassing in my opinion. Even Mario Party 1 had at least 6. And I don't want anyone to tell me, oh, it's the GBA technical limitation, because Mario Kart Super Circuit had 8 characters.
Boom! Get owned, punk, in your face. I really need something better to do.
But firstly, if you're enjoying the content, please do consider subscribing, as it does help me to make, hopefully, more of this content in the future more consistently. So now, back to your regularly scheduled JeffCompass complaining. So essentially, the world of Shroom City seems to be having some sort of humanitarian crisis, where everyone needs help with something. You roll a dice to move around in a shoe, I guess, just like all good Mario Party games, where you can stop by and complete a minigame or task to receive a gadget. Ugh. Even Professor Egad can't save this game. This sort of reminds me of Super Monkey Ball Adventure, moving around in some bizarre town where your sole purpose is helping other people to restore happiness in the land.
And we're really not off to a good start if I'm immediately comparing it to that piece of technology. Media on a disc. Nope, I can't bring myself to call it a game even to this day.
Now, I might not be a game designer, but I just don't get it. Why would you take a multiplayer series that people loved and strip literally everything good from it? I mean, seriously, what the actual hell is this? All right, you know what? Let me just try to explain this. I will give it a good attempt. So you start off with 4 mushrooms. If you land on a dice block, you get to roll again for free. If you land on a yellow space, you can play a mini game if it's been 3 turns. And if you land on a minus space, then you lose a mushroom. If you run out of mushrooms, the game ends. It's just freaking over. So as far as I know, there's no saves in this mode, so it's incredibly punishing if you happen to run out.
Mario Party, more like Masochist Party. Who does this game appeal to? What was the target demographic? Like, I genuinely don't know. If you're out there, please tell me. I'll do an interview with you or something. Like, who is this game made for? Are there even people out in the world who genuinely want to play this? Because if there are, I don't know them.
The minigames you play are okay, and you know what? That statement is me being pretty damn generous. It seems like a decent chunk of them are just side-scroller-like minigames. The problem I have with all of them is theoretically they could be fun, but the controls seem delayed beyond belief for whatever reason. It feels like every time I press the A or B button, it takes a full second for the input to even register. I was able to get used to it with time, but it's really difficult to have a lot of precision here as a result. Like, look at these jumps. It's worse than Super Mario Galaxy, and that game at least had anti-gravity. Like, it makes sense. It's even more frustrating when it's not a side-scroller level because you don't have as much time to get used to it. Like this mini-game where you go around harassing bunnies. Ah yes, bonking into a wall and losing 3 seconds. That'll teach the player. Even though the controls are scuffed, I found the game to be pretty easy still, so to be honest, it's not that likely you'll game over, and occasionally you'll be given the opportunity to win 2 mushrooms instead of 1 or whatever. When you roll a die, you're free to move wherever you want. There's no forced paths like in the standard Mario Party games, and to visit citizens, thankfully you can just enter the buildings and you don't have to worry about landing on them. When you go to citizens that are on the map who need help, there are multiple events that can play out. One of the most prominent event types is solving mysteries from this clown of a toad. I don't know, maybe these are kind of fun if you're into that genre of gameplay, like visual novels or whatever. But personally, I just find it boring because it feels like a lot of button mashing and not really a good payoff.
And me even calling these visual novels is a major act of generosity. It's so generous, in fact, that I just won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Solving mysteries aren't all of the events, but it does feel like there are more text mashers than actual minigames and gameplay. And when you do get to a legitimate minigame, they're not even guaranteed to be fun or even playable. Like this snowman who's apparently the best baseball pitcher in the history of the goddamn world. Move over, Babe Ruth.
I'm gonna sure hope I used that sports reference correctly.
I don't even know how the hell you're supposed to time this pitch, even after watching a video of someone else doing it. And the more you fail, the more goddamn mushrooms you use up. So you can't really sit around and just do it until you win. No, you eventually are just forced to leave so you can even continue the freaking game. That's assuming you even want to continue this pile of dog crap at all. And personally, I don't. Some events won't even let you do them unless you're a specific character. Can I ask why? Like this guy only wants Princess Peach. Oh, I'm sorry, am I not good enough for you? I'm a freaking dinosaur. Oh, but you want the model princesses. Someone's got a crush. You could argue this is an incentive to play as all the characters, but why do we even have to do that? Just let me play as the character I want to. I don't even want to play this game once, let alone 4 times. Part of the charm of the older Mario parties was you could play as your favorite Mario characters and not suffer penalties for it. I mean, you were all on the same playing field. There were no stats, nothing like that. With a lot of these events, you'll slowly realize that half of these events are just button mashing through text, only to realize the character wants you to travel across the entire map to get an item. This is where I really started checking out of this game. It wears on your mind and stamina, and it's so slow to get anywhere that I instantly didn't want to do these mini games. At an observer's glance, you might say,
well, just keep an eye on something and revisit it later.
Except, you can only do 1 active quest at a time. So no, you can't do that. When you start a quest, you have to roll a mushroom, move, roll a mushroom, move, roll a mushroom, minigame over and over and over and over again. The rolls are completely RNG too, of course. So sometimes I rolled like 3 1s or 2s in a row, and there's nothing I could do about it.
I know they were trying to keep the Mario Party aesthetic and theming going. Like, I know what they were trying to do, but it's just so sluggish. Like, imagine you're driving a car. Every 10 feet, the car runs out of gas. So you gotta get out of your car and put more gas in the car, and then you get back in the car, you drive the car 10 more feet, and you gotta do it again. That's essentially the Mario Party Advance experience.
With these reviews, I usually try to get as much footage as I can when I play these games. But I'm just gonna be honest here, I stopped playing after 3 hours because it was so incredibly boring. I'd honestly rather play a game like Super Monkey Ball Adventure. Yeah, I said it. When this entire game is dice rolling and text mashing, there's no fun involved, and it was draining my mind to even continue playing it. Some of the missions don't even make sense as far as what you're supposed to do. This whale, for instance, says he needs you to laugh at the jokes that are legitimately funny. But the issue is, none of the jokes even made me laugh laugh a little bit. I couldn't laugh at even any of these. So I bought myself the latest portable phone. Right off the bat, the thing goes out on me. So I went back to the dealer and complained. And so the dealer, he says to me, "Sir, the phone is a precision instrument. You should never ever take it outside." Where is the punchline? And these comedy minigames aren't uncommon either. Every few gadgets collected, for instance, you unlock a Bowser minigame. But instead of fighting him and doing something legitimately fun, you just tell him jokes. Mario Party Advance reminds me a lot of what we were told not to do back when I was in film school. What I learned from my education was to never tell a story or have characters that aren't actionable. For example, if you have pages of dialogue between two characters and nothing is happening on screen, that was considered bad writing. I know this is a video game and not a film, but it's the same exact goddamn principle. It's not meaningful or deep enough to be an RPG, and it's not actionable or exciting enough to be even a video game. It's just boring. It pleases no one. There are some side modes, sure. Honestly, by the time I realized that, I kind of didn't care. You can do some cool stuff with your gadgets, and there's also modes like a 100-player battle mode. According to the manual, between 2 and 100 players can compete in one minigame. All you have to do is pass your Game Boy Advance. Before even starting a game, assign a number to each player.
Imagine sitting in a room with 100 people and passing around Mario Party Advance. Has this ever happened in the history of humanity? And if it hasn't, what are we waiting for? We gotta all link up and do this. I mean, this is our calling as gamers. There's no better gaming experience on the goddamn planet than Mario Party. Oh, frick.
The only credit I can really give this game is that it's good graphically, I guess. The sprite work is nice. It can be sort of funny at times, but that's about it. And when you think about the other Mario games, I feel like this is more than deserving of earning the worst game in the franchise mantle. Seriously, what game will you actually argue is worse than this? Mario Tennis Ultra Smash? Sure, that game kind of sucks ass, but it's playable, it's well built, it's just devoid of content, but there is a game that exists there at a minimum. Other series like the Mario and Sonic series and worse Mario Party games I also see on the worst Mario games list are also at least playable in multiplayer and have an element of replayability. And even a game like Hotel Mario, yeah, it's historically bad, I know, but it's just kind of a generic arcade game if you really look past the stupid cutscenes. I played Mario Party Advance for a total of 3 hours, as I said, and I never want to play it again in my life. In fact, I'm done with this review. Get it out of my face.
Mario Party Advance is the equivalent of having a sandwich. You take a bite out of it, there's nothing inside, there's no goddamn substance, it's just freaking bread. Imagine if I did a review, but without even talking or appearing on camera or doing anything besides just putting text on a screen. Well, you know what? We'll actually conclude this video in that way, just to prove how boring it is.